about the last time you learned to do something completely new. Not improved at something, not got better at a skill you already had. Truly new. Something you had never done before in your life.
For most people reading this, that moment is surprisingly hard to locate. You have to reach back, past last year, past a few years ago, maybe further. And when you find it, there is almost always something attached to it. A feeling, a sharpness, a sense that time was moving differently than it does now. That feeling is not nostalgia. It is not sentimentality. It is a measurable neurological phenomenon. And understanding it will change how you think about every year you have left. When you were born, everything was a first time. The first time light hit your retina. The first time cold air entered your lungs. The first time a face leaned over you and made a sound that would eventually become a word you recognized. In your first years of life, your brain was processing novelty at a rate it would never approach again. Every single experience was genuinely unprecedented. There was no template to match it against, no prior memory to compare it to. Your hippocampus was running at full capacity, encoding everything, building the foundational map of what the world was made of. This is why early childhood feels, to those who can remember fragments of it, so vivid and so strange. Not because the events were more important, but because every single one of them was new. And newness, it turns out, is the single most powerful signal your brain knows how to respond to. Neuroscientist David Eagleman at Stanford has spent years studying the relationship between time perception and memory. His research points to something that feels obvious once you hear it, but that almost nobody thinks about deliberately. Your brain does not experience time like a clock. It does not tick forward in uniform intervals, 1 second after another, indifferent to what is happening inside each second. Your brain experiences time relative to information density. When you are processing a large amount of new information, a new city, a new job, a new relationship, a new skill, your brain is encoding thousands of novel data points per hour. And when you later try to recall that period of your life, all of those encoded moments are there. The memory feels rich. It feels long. It feels like that period lasted longer than it actually did. But when you are in a routine, the same commute, the same tasks, the same faces, the same conversations, your brain stops encoding with the same intensity. It already has templates for all of this. It runs on autopilot. And when you try to recall that period, there is almost nothing there. The weeks collapse into each other. The months vanish. Time feels like it passed in an instant. Not because it did, but because your brain had nothing new to record. Eagleman demonstrated this in an experiment involving a genuinely terrifying method of data collection. He had volunteers free fall backwards off a 150-foot platform with a net at the bottom, but no way for the falling body to fully believe that in the moment. During the fall, which lasted approximately 2.5 seconds, volunteers were asked to read numbers flashing on a small screen strapped to their wrist. The numbers flashed faster than normal perception should allow. During a normal 2.5-second interval, the volunteers could not read them. But during the fall, some volunteers reported being able to read them clearly. Eagleman's interpretation was precise. Time did not actually slow down during the fall. The speed of neural processing did not increase. What happened was different. The brain, flooded with a genuinely novel and threatening situation, went into high-density encoding mode. It recorded everything, Every fraction of a second was packed with data. And so when the experience was recalled, even moments later, it felt longer than it was. The memory was denser than a normal 2.5-second window. And dense memory feels like slow time. This is why your summer holidays as a child felt like they lasted forever. Every day was genuinely different from the last. Every experience was being recorded in full resolution. But in retrospect, those periods shrink. They leave almost no trace. The comfortable weeks dissolve. The pleasant sameness becomes, in memory, nothing at all. And the paradox is this: the periods of your life that felt hardest in the moment, the new job where you didn't know anyone, the trip to a place where you didn't speak the language, the skill you struggled with for months before it clicked, those are the periods that expand in memory. They feel, looking back, like they lasted longer than the comfortable years on either side of them. Your brain kept more of them because it had more to keep, and more like a warning. He wrote that the reason time seems to speed up as we age is simple. In youth, each week, each day is filled with novel experiences and new sensations. The weeks are remembered, and so each seems long. But in later years, each passing week resembles so closely what came before it that it leaves little individual mark. The days and weeks smooth into each other, and the years grow hollow and short. He wrote that in 1890, without brain imaging, without EEG, without any of the tools modern neuroscience now uses to confirm exactly what he described. He was simply paying attention to what happened to a human life over time, and what he saw disturbed him enough to write it down. But here is what James could not have known, and what neuroscience has only recently confirmed. The brain is not fixed in its capacity for novelty. It does not have a set quota of first times that depletes with age and cannot be refilled. The mechanisms that make new experience feel vivid and make time feel rich, those mechanisms are still there. They are still functional. They are simply not being used. Neuroscientist Michael Merzenich at the University of California, San Francisco, spent decades studying neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to physically reorganize itself in response to new experience. His conclusion, repeated across hundreds of studies, was unambiguous.
The brain retains its capacity for change far longer than we assume.
Learning a genuinely new skill, not a variation on something familiar, but something structurally different, triggers the same kind of dense encoding, the same rich memory formation, the same subjective sense of expanded time that characterized childhood. The mechanism is not broken, it is dormant. And dormancy, unlike damage, can be reversed. This is where the science stops being abstract and becomes something you can actually use. Because what Eagleman's research, James's observation, and Merzenich's neuroplasticity studies are all pointing toward is the same conclusion from different directions. The feeling that time is accelerating, that years are passing faster, that life is somehow slipping, is not an inevitable consequence of aging. It is a consequence of a specific kind of life, a life organized around efficiency, familiarity, and the elimination of friction. And the remedy is not complicated. It is just uncomfortable. New experiences, genuinely new ones, not variations on existing preferences, not the same holiday destination you've been to 3 times, not another book in the genre you always read. Structurally new, things your brain has no template for, things that force full resolution encoding because there is no shortcut available.
A new language,
a physical skill you have never tried, a social environment completely outside your existing network, a place where everything, the sounds, the food, the faces, the customs, is genuinely unfamiliar.
Your brain will resist this. Novelty feels uncomfortable before it feels good. The hippocampus working at full capacity does not feel like relaxation. It feels like effort. But the result, measured in memory density and subjective time experience, is a life that feels longer. Not because more time passed, but because more of it was recorded. There will be a last time you do everything. A last time you travel somewhere you've never been. A last time you start something from scratch. A last time your brain encounters something genuinely unprecedented and has to build a new template from nothing. Most people do not know when that last time is until long after it has passed. They do not feel it happening. The last first time arrives quietly inside an ordinary week, and then it is gone. William James was right about what happens to a life without novelty. The years grow hollow, the weeks smooth into each other, the decades compress into something that, at the end, feels impossibly short. But he was writing descriptively. He was documenting what he observed. The neuroscience that came after him turned his observation into a choice. You cannot add more hours to your life, but you can change the density of what fills them. You can force your brain back into full resolution recording mode. You can make the weeks leave a mark. The last time you did something for the first time doesn't have to be as far back as you think. It could be next week, if you decide to make it one.